Have you ever met someone who explodes at the tiniest thing, a slow driver, a wrong word, or even just a loud chew? You might have wondered, are they just rude? Or is something deeper going on inside their mind? Today, on Mind Theory, we're going to unpack the real psychology behind people who get angry quickly. Quick anger, what psychologists call low frustration tolerance, is not just a personality flaw. It's a deeply rooted emotional pattern that forms over years of experience, brain wiring, and learned behavior. Understanding it can change how you see both others and yourself. 1. What happens in the brain? When a person with quick anger encounters a trigger, their brain's alarm system, the amygdala, fires before the rational brain even gets a chance to respond. It's like a smoke detector that goes off every time you make toast. The rational mind arrives too late to stop the explosion. This is called amygdala hijack, a term coined by psychologist Daniel Goleman. In split seconds, the emotional brain takes over completely, flooding the body with adrenaline and cortisol. The person isn't choosing to be angry. Their biology is choosing for them. This flood of stress hormones causes the heart to race, muscles to tense, and breathing to quicken, the classic fight or flight response. The body is preparing for a battle that, in modern life, almost never actually exists. To where does it come from? Quick anger rarely appears out of nowhere. It almost always has roots. For many people, it starts in childhood, in homes where anger was the primary language of communication. When a child grows up watching adults resolve conflict through shouting, the brain literally wires itself to do the same. This is called emotional modeling. Children absorb the emotional habits of the people around them like sponges. They don't learn to feel angry. They learn that anger is what you do when life gets hard, and that lesson can last a lifetime. Trauma also plays a massive role. People who have experienced chronic stress, abuse, or emotional neglect often develop a hair-trigger nervous system, always on guard, always scanning for the next threat. Anger becomes a shield, a way to feel powerful when the world once made them feel powerless. 3. The hidden emotions under anger. Here's something most people don't realize. Anger is almost never the primary emotion. It's what psychologists call a secondary emotion, allowed cover for something quieter underneath. Beneath quick anger, you'll almost always find fear, shame, hurt, or deep feelings of powerlessness. Think about a person who snaps when someone cancels plans on them. On the surface, it looks like overreaction, but underneath, they may be feeling, "I'm not important to anyone." Anger rushed in to protect them from sitting with that painful truth. This is why telling an angry person to just calm down almost never works. You're addressing the surface while the real wound remains untouched. Real change only happens when the person beneath the anger is seen and understood, often for the first time. For types of quick anger personalities, psychologists have identified several patterns in how quick anger shows up. The first is the explosive type, sudden, intense, and often followed by guilt. These people don't hold grudges. They detonate, then feel terrible about it afterward. The second type is the simmerer, someone who holds anger quietly, like a pot slowly heating on a stove. They seem fine until suddenly they're not, and the eruption seems to come from nowhere even though it's been building for weeks. The third type is the deflector, someone who expresses anger outward at unrelated targets. They had a terrible day at work, so they snap at a family member over dinner. The trigger and the target are almost never the same thing. 5. The social cost. Quick anger doesn't just affect the person feeling it, it ripples outward. Relationships suffer, trust erodes, and over time, people begin to walk on eggshells around the angry person. Ironically, this isolation often makes the anger worse, not better. At work, quick anger is one of the fastest ways to lose credibility and trust. Studies show that colleagues and managers tend to view frequent anger, even when justified, as a sign of poor emotional regulation, not strength. The person who rages rarely wins the room. Children who grow up with a quick anger parent also carry significant effects, including anxiety, hypervigilance, and sometimes the same anger patterns passed down like an invisible inheritance. The cycle continues unless someone consciously breaks it. 6. Can it change? The most important thing to understand is this: quick anger is not destiny. The brain is neuroplastic, meaning it can rewire itself with the right tools and consistent effort. People who have raged for decades have learned to pause, reflect, and respond rather than react. One of the most effective tools is what therapists call the stop technique. Stop, take a breath, observe what you're feeling, and proceed with intention. It sounds simple, but for an amygdala used to running on autopilot, this tiny pause is revolutionary. Therapy, particularly cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavior therapy, has shown consistent results in helping people with anger management. But even without a therapist, self-awareness is the starting gate. You cannot change a pattern you refuse to see. 7. How to deal with quick anger people. If someone in your life has a quick temper, the worst thing you can do is match their energy. Responding to an explosion with another explosion creates a feedback loop. Two amygdalas hijacking each other simultaneously. Someone has to be the steady one. Setting boundaries is not the same as giving up on someone. You can love a person and still tell them clearly, I won't engage when you speak to me that way. Boundaries don't push angry people away, they actually teach them where safety ends and danger begins. It also helps to remember that their anger is almost never truly about you, even when it's directed at you. Understanding this doesn't excuse the behavior, but it frees you from carrying the emotional weight of someone else's unresolved pain. People who get angry quickly are not broken, they are often deeply feeling people who were never taught how to process those feelings safely. Behind every short fuse is a story, and behind every story is a person who, at some level, is still trying to protect themselves from pain. Psychology doesn't ask us to excuse harmful behavior, it asks us to understand it, because understanding is where change begins. Whether this is about you or someone you love, the fact that you're watching this means something important. You're choosing curiosity over judgment. If this video gave you something to think about, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Because sometimes the best thing we can do for an angry person is quietly hand them a mirror. I'm Mind Theory, and I'll see you in the next one.